Okay, good morning everybody. Good morning Annapolis, the fair capital city of Maryland. It's already Kislev, which means Hanukkah is down the pike, and it's time to discuss a very challenging issue: the Jew in the secular world, when to take, when to partake, and when to refrain. A very challenging but necessary question that a Jew and a Jewess needs to address every single day of their life, sometimes with small repercussions, sometimes with big repercussions. Decisions made in this area can determine the future of someone's entire legacy and family. So I want to jump over first to talk about someone you wouldn't expect to be in this discussion. I want to talk to you about a brilliant comedian named Gertrude Berg. Now, I did not see Gertrude Berg when I was a child. I found out about her later. People just a drop older than me will remember her from The Rise of the Goldbergs, Molly Goldberg. And if that doesn't help you, the way most people's memories are jarred, she was the woman who stuck her head out the window after Brought to You by Sanka Coffee and went, "Yoo-hoo, Mrs. Bloom." That's Mrs. Goldberg. And if all that doesn't help you, just Google it and you will see her very friendly Yiddish Babisha Punim. Now, she was an expert at dealing with today's question because her show was all about immigrant Jews in the United States of America, which was more accepting of Jewish people and our ways than any country had been in a while. And there were a lot of issues because the immigrant parents and grandparents wanted to live one way. The children wanted to fit in, whether that was healthy or not, and to become more and more part of the melting pot. And as time went on, it got more diluted. And there was a lot of family friction. And Gertrude Berg, she should rest in peace, felt that she could use her show as a vehicle to help people make the adjustment, as they say in Yiddish, to dance at both weddings. Okay, which halacha might not always be happy with. For instance, she had a show that dealt with the shock of a first-generation immigrant being very upset because she felt that her son was not going to name the child after her mother or father. And it certainly wasn't going to be the traditional Jewish or Yiddish name. And the whole program was about this lady, Tante Elka, practically having a breakdown because her son wasn't going to name after the Baba and the Zayda. And of course, conveniently, she did something common to all cultures. Tante Elka blamed it on her rotten daughter-in-law. That's very convenient. And the whole show was Molly in the middle trying to assuage and calm everybody down and try to make everybody happy. I'll just give you just a nugget of it. And I just want to mention Gertrude Berg was brilliant. She not only was the star of the show, she wrote, directed, produced, she did the whole thing. And she was always working on this, trying to help the immigrant fit in without losing their Jewish ID. For instance, she would have a Pesach show, she would have a Rosh Hashanah show, but the focus of the show wasn't Pesach or Rosh Hashanah, it was whatever family dynamics was going on. You have to remember also, she was on thin ice. This show was going out to a largely Gentile United States of America, even in New York or on the East Coast. So she felt that if she could have the holiday in the background whatever it was, acknowledging the holiday identity, but not acknowledging it, but not too much. She felt that would be the right combination. Right, wrong, and different. I'm sure she talked to God when she got up there in the early 60s. But she tried. So in the thing with the naming, Tante Elka is completely going out of her mind. Look at this. We moved to America. We're losing our Jewish identity. So then Molly tries a cute tactic. She says to Tante Elka, what was your mother's name again? Shana? You can picture a whole Jewish bubby. Shana Chana. So Molly Goldberg, and that's interesting, in the earlier shows, she laid on the Yiddish accent. Naturally, she was born in America, so naturally she did not have a heavy Jewish accent. I don't think she had one at all. Representing Jews living in America longer and where they lived, Molly and her husband, they would lighten up the accent because that's what was happening to Jews. The Jews were trying to do that. So Molly says to Tante Elka, Taka, oh, your mother, Shana Chana, such a holy, righteous woman. And Tante Elka gives out a, oh, yes, my mother, so righteous. So then Molly wants to try to calm things down, and she says, well, maybe your son feels that your mother was so righteous, she's too holy to name anybody for. Maybe that's what it is. She says, maybe, but I still think it was the daughter-in-law. So then the son comes in, and hi, and he hugs and kisses his mother. Hi, Mom, it's me, your son. So classic old-time Jewish grandmother. A son? What kind of son? You say you're a son? What kind of son is that? Doesn't want a name for his grandmother and grandfather. He says, Mom, what's wrong? You're not going to name the baby for my mother. Yes, I am. And she says, you told me that the baby's name is going to be Bonnie Ann. What kind of Jewish name is that? Bonnie Ann. For my mother, such a wonderful one. Shendel Chane. And you're going to call her Bonnie Ann. Well, what is with you? He says, Ma, but we are naming the baby for your mother. Listen, I'm from old country, but I'm not stupid. I wasn't born yesterday. Bonnie Ann is not Shana Chana. So he hugs his mother and says, Ma, yes it is. Ma, Shana is Yiddish for beautiful. Bonnie is French for the same thing. Bonnie, that's what Bonnie is. Bon voyage, whatever you like. Bon means pretty. What does it really mean?
Bon.
Bon. All right, I'm saying it wrong. Okay, fine.
Nice.
He says, well, bon is French for Shano, and you don't like Ann? Ann is Chana. Ann is English for Chana. So you see, Mama? Bonnie Ann is Shana Chana. So she says, oh, such a wonderful son I'm having. And that's how it ends. Now, so whatever it was, whoever's right and wrong, this happened hundreds of times in the United States of America, and even within religious families. I know, I have a Rabbi. His mother's name was Basya Maryasha. So the kids, they were going to do the Basya, but the Maryasha was too Yiddish, Russian, they didn't want to know from it. It was too much. And that's within the same Orthodox family. So what I'm just trying to say is Gertrude Berg, she tried to bridge a gap, to show people, well, hold on to your identity, but you could be somewhat American. But there was a point later on where her ratings started to go down, because this happened to Milton Berle also, except for a slightly different reason. The more people had TV sets across the rest of the country, the percent of Jews or people friends with Jews watching the show went down, which meant you really didn't need so many Jewish jokes. It's not going to work. Someone in Utah or Montana or whatever you want, They're not going to laugh at the joke, no matter how good the joke is.
Just don't get it.
So she had to start making some changes. So Gertrude Berg thought, well, you know what? Let me at least hold on to Jewish values. Jewish values. Now, you know there are Jewish people that say, you don't have, and Steve knows this better than anybody, even though it's not him. There are Jewish people that feel, I don't have to go to shul, I don't have to wear, I don't have to do anything, as long as Sunday morning I meet my friends for bagel and lox. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. I did bagel and lox, that's it. I'll send a check to some Israeli organization. I'm finished. That's all I have to do. So Gertrude knew that wasn't going to cut it, but she tried to impress the way Jews live, certain aspects of menschlichkeit, and eventually in the 50s, as Jews changed, that faded away also. Let me give you an example. The old Jewish way to solve a problem, it still is, but not as much, was with food. If you have a problem, you give them some food. Steve likes that idea. There was a classic show that Gertrude had of the immigrants struggling to get by. They got a new landlord and he jacks up the rent. And they're going out of their mind because the immigrant's just trying to make it, and her husband's carrying on Molly, he's no good, I'm not going to pay it, I'm working too hard. And she says, yeah, you even working on Shabbos. And he says, Molly, I don't work on Shabbos. What you mean you don't work on Shabbos? You're going to work on Shabbos. Molly, I'm a Jew, I don't work on Shabbos, I do a little business. I'm not working on it. I do a little business. Which also there was an agenda there that she was trying to tackle one way or another. At the end of the show, what happens? Molly invites the landlord in and she bakes him a cake. Best way to his heart and his pocketbook. They work something out, and the show ends with Molly saying, you see, everybody, a landlord is also a human being. Music comes on, problem solved. Yeah, but as time moved on, the modern Jew, they didn't solve problems that way anymore. Everything is so much of a focus on food. Another problem she had, which historians, matter of fact, I borrowed the book from this shul from Dr. Epstein, which really, really did her in. She thought, all right, so I won't stress Rosh Hashanah so much, I won't stress Pesach, I'll get rid of my accent, but I'll show Jewish values of, as we say in Hebrew, Sameach b'chelko, mistapik b'muat. Being happy with your portion. Everybody knows the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Who's the rich person? Ezel Ashir, Sameach b'chelko, happy in your portion. Jews can be frugal. You don't have to be cheap. That's Jack Benny, and he really wasn't anyway. But she would show, certainly for immigrants, that, you live within your means, make do with less, be happy with what you have. And she had a lot of shows about that. To reach a point in the 50s where the Jewish family, regardless of their religious level, they didn't want to hear that. No. They had more money. They wanted to have more materialism. They could afford it. They wanted to be like everybody else. So they don't want to hear this kind of business to getting by. Like Alan Sherman used to joke, got a good job, gonna move to Levittown. That was the way the Jews were feeling, and a lot of people feel that's what did her in. But she was trying at least to hold on to, all right, even if you're not gonna do all the ritual, at least act Jewish, conduct yourself Jewish, don't be so ostentatious, take it easy where your spending was. But it got to a point where that fell apart also. So anyway, so it's a very, very big dilemma for Jews, and no matter what level of religiosity they're holding by, what they do, what they don't do, everybody has to deal with it at some point. So today I just wanted to mention some guideposts. The way I tell you, it's like this. If you would be in a boat or in a car, it works better with a boat. Now, when you're in a boat, and nowadays we have, David knows, you have very, very sophisticated computer systems that tell you what's under the boat, that tell you I don't really need a lighthouse, I don't need a buoy, and you have fishermen. Now, I was told this is not cheating. What?
Those are, any good navigator will tell you that don't rely on the electronics.
Okay, all right. So
most recently, just
that works even better.
Professionals sailed right onto a reef because they didn't zoom in.
Yikes! All right, so that's going to prove the point. That's going to prove the point even more. So some people think it's not cheating, but now when you go fishing, you don't have to guess anymore, right? They even got a scanner. You could buy a Bass Pro outlet or wherever you like to go, and it'll tell you where the fish is. You could fight all day if that's cheating or not, if that's real fishing.
Still got to catch them.
But as far as the Jew goes, it's like you're in the water. You don't really know what's to the left or the right, in front of you and back of you. But if you have some lighthouses and some buoys and some guideposts, so you know. Don't get too close to there, it's trouble. Don't go too close to there. You're going to hit this, you're going to hit that. Now, is Hashem going to give us a perfect nautical map that'll tell you what exactly is under there? An old island, a shoal over there, a lighthouse from 200 years ago. You're not going to get exactly that, but Hashem can give you some guides along the side and in front of you, at least to help. That your boat doesn't get marooned someplace. Alrighty? Something. Alright. Now, there is something to beware of. There are some Jews that feel isolation and ghettoization is the way to go. Don't have the bare minimum, have nothing to do with anybody, and that's how I'm going to protect the Jewish people. There are Jews like that. And then you have to start asking yourself, are they Jewish or are they Amish? And and sometimes people ask themselves, Amish and Orthodox, it's uncomfortable questions sometimes, but it really, really shouldn't be. But there is a wealth of Torah statements that would tell a person that that's unhealthy, if not wrong, to be too much of an isolationist. For instance, the Gemara says many times, Yesh Chachma Bagoyim Tamen. If you hear that the non-Jews have a wise idea, believe it, check it out. Don't have an attitude of, no, I'm only going to be with Jews and Jewish things and Jewish inventors. I don't want to know from anything else. That doesn't really seem to be a Torah idea. The Torah says, Yesh Chachma Bagoyim Tamen. You have hundreds of Gemaras. When the Gemara wants to prove a point, the Gemara will go, aha, Hainu Da'armi Inshi, this is why the world says. And most of those quotes all over Shas, you can be sure they're not Jewish sayings. Sometimes we came up with the saying, sometimes they came up with the saying. But if it's a good piece of wisdom, it's a good piece of wisdom. The Torah does it all the time. So for someone, to say, well, I want to be in an island, and if it's not exactly, from a Jewish source, this, I want nothing to do with it. If a person's going to pull too far away, then they could be missing out on something big that could benefit their lives and make life better. The Chavetz Chaim said a long time ago about technology. So I don't want to waste time comparing us to the Amish because it really isn't a comparison. You're talking a guy who worked in Lancaster for 5 years, okay? They asked the Chavetz Chaim about technology. And he was clear, if there's a new idea in the world, no matter who invented it, find out about it and find a way to let it enhance your Judaism. That's what it's there for. It's not for you to say, no, that's Gentile, I can't. No. If God let it be discovered in the world,
right here.
Find a way to help it enhance your Judaism. There almost always is a way to do it. Almost always a way to do it. There is a vignette about the altar from Slobodka. Now, and even if you don't want to accept exactly what he said, you're going to take the spirit of what he said. There was a particular area that needed a bridge for years. For years. And then finally, some king, I don't know who it was, Napoleon, somebody was able, they had the technology and the ability, and they built a certain bridge. So somebody asked the rabbi, you know, for so many years, nobody was able to make a bridge over there. Why do you think that particular king or ruler merited to be able to do that bridge? And he's the one, he got able to do it. Why do you think this happened? He says, well, I will tell you something. Because there was no bridge there, anyone who wanted to go to learn Torah in Yeshiva A, B, and C, they would have to waste a lot of time getting there because you had to go all the way around because there's no bridge. Because that king finally had the technology and ability to put the bridge there, they can go learn Torah quicker. That's more days of Torah, less days of less days of going around all over the place. Now, you could argue all day if the rabbi was on the mark, down the mark, but his point was just telling the people that if you see a technological advance, there's a good side, there's a bad side, but you almost always, you can find a way to use it to your advantage. The Chavetz Chaim added that not only is new technology from the non-Jewish world, wherever it comes from, is you should be able to find a way to make life better and your Judaism better, but he said something else. It helps you understand God a little bit better. I'll give you an example. One time I met an intelligent lawyer, a parent of one of my students, and he said, I go to shul Rosh Hashanah, but I don't really believe that God's judging everybody. I go, I take my family, but I don't really believe God is judging everybody. So I said, Mr. Stein, what is it about Rosh Hashanah that bothers you? He says, well, how could God look at everybody at the same time? How could he service everybody at the same time? I don't get it. Judges can't do that. So I said, Mr. Stein, do you own a computer? Of course I own a computer. I said, do you know there's such a thing as a server? He says, of course. And this is already in the 80s. Mr. Stein, on one server, how many computer systems can be serviced by one server at the same time? So whatever number he gave me, I said, Mr. Stein, if one computer server at the exact same second can service so many computer systems, don't you think God could do the same thing maybe? And he sat there. I never thought about that. I got to think about that more. This may actually make sense. So the Chavetz Chaim tells us, try to do things like that. Let's say somebody would have a bad day, they want to curse a lot. They figured, what's the difference? Nobody heard me. Nobody heard you. I'll show you 50 devices that can pick up everything you're looking at and everything you see and everything you do. If they can do it, good chance God can do it too. So the Chavetz Chaim says not only should you try to use devices to make a better Yiddishkeit, but also it can help you understand God and the world better. So you should take advantage of that. A Jew has to remind themselves, the Mishnah, and nobody argues with this Mishnah, having mispalo b'shalom u'shal malchus, you got to daven for the peace of the government, because without the government they'll eat each other alive. And Rabbeinu Yonah in Ovo says that means not just davening for the president in shul, or you can daven for the president, but anyway, and not just saying a mishaberach for the president and vice president. Isn't halacha funny? Make a mishaberach for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. It's really cool. A little easy to do for Netanyahu, but whatever. Rabbeinu Yonah says it is an incumbent mitzvah for every Jew to daven for all your elected officials.
But you need to read what the Misha Berach says, so that they should deal kindly with us.
Okay.
That's why
it's still fun. It's still fun. It's still fun. It's still have to send them a letter. But Rabbeinu Yonah says that Jews have to understand that they have to have the right kind of relationship with the non-Jews, and they need to daven for all the elected officials. And Rabbeinu Yonah says even the lowest government official you should have in mind, and he says, if they're having aggravation, you need to feel for them. See if you can help them davening in other ways. So I'm just saying, if somebody would want to say, well, I'm going to be a total isolationist, I'm going to find a neighborhood and block myself off, I don't care about anyone except for my community, there's a long list of Chazal that says that, that you just can't be that way. You can't be all the way over there. On Sukkot, everybody knows, we bring 70 karbanot on behalf of every nation. Nowadays there's no Beit HaMikdash. All right, so we're saying prayers. You're supposed to be praying and concerned about the fellow man of the nations. So to lock yourself up too much, that's just not going to work. There's too many things the Torah says not like that. However, on the other side, we have a lot of things from the Torah that warn us, be careful. Be careful. Now, in the upcoming parshas, we have some screaming loud ones, but they're very, very gray. And people like to argue about it, but I'm going to try to just give you an idea what to do with it. Yaakov Avinu in Parshas Vayishlach is going to say to Hashem, Hatzileni no miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me from my brother, save me from Esav. And there's a wealth of commentaries that say, what did Yaakov Avinu mean? Esav. Esav is an anti-Semite. That relative of mine is an anti-Semite. He wants to hurt me, my wives, my children. Save me. Save me from the Nazi and my brother. But you know what, though? There's another problem. Save me from my brother. What if he doesn't approach me with a knife and a gun? He approaches me with a hug and presence. He wants to be my brother. God, save me from that too. Now, the first time I read that, what are you talking about? Where's the spirit of Philadelphia freedom? Brotherhood of man! How can you just say, save me from my brother? But a long list of commentaries say that's exactly what it means. And history has shown that, of course we want people to be nice to us, but history has shown, when Jews have too much brotherhood of man, we fall apart. It's happened many, many times in history. A good place to start studying it, if you study what happened when Napoleon gave emancipation and total equality to the Jews, which is what we want, most history books will tell you that French Jewry collapsed in identity and had more tzaras than anybody. I mean, of course we want equality and all that, but if you get too close, we Jews tend to fall apart. At least that's what history has shown us. So you don't want to go too far over there. Then you have Yaakov Avinu. When Yaakov Avinu meets up with Esav, you have that other powerful statement where he says, Esav, im love angarti, v'taryag mitzvah shamarti, v'lo lamanati memasa v'arayim. People love to fight about this one. Esav, with Uncle Lavan I lived, I kept the 613 mitzvahs, and I did not learn from his bad ways. So those two statements from Rashi, based on Midrash and Talmud, they're important, because you say, now wait a second, you can't say I don't want the non-Jews to be brother with me. Of course I want brotherhood. We say every time we have slichot, everybody says it, it's part of the Torah, right? Ubeisi beis tefila yikarei l'chol ha'amim. The goal is that someday the Beis HaMikdash should be a welcome place. Everybody will be there. Everybody. Black, white, pink, this, that. It's in davening, it's in slichot, it's undeniable. And everybody believes that there has to come some time when we're the light to nations and everybody davens together in the Beis HaMikdash to the same God. So there's got to be an element of brotherhood, but yet you have Yaakov Avinu saying in a pasuk, yeah, but I need to be safe from too much brotherhood. You got to figure that out. Then you have Yaakov Avinu saying, yeah, I lived with Uncle Lavan and I kept the mitzvahs. In addition to keep the mitzvahs, I didn't learn any of his bad ways. So the big issue is, well, what's called bad ways? What does that mean? I mean, if a non-Jew made a nice shirt, you're telling me I can't wear it? That's ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. That's not the rule. What do you mean, the Chinese people invented glasses? Italians made pizza. I can't eat all that. Of course you can. So when you get to those areas, how do you figure out, well, what's the right amount of brotherhood? And what is the right amount of, well, what can I learn from what I shouldn't learn of? How do I decide what's good and what's bad? So we need a lot of help from the Torah in these issues, and the answer is not always the same for everybody. But without being too literal, but the overall message of these chazal, of these quotes, is you can argue all day how much brotherhood, what's a good thing to learn, what's a bad thing to learn, but one message is clear. There's got to be you got to draw the line somewhere where, well, that's not Jewish, that's not Jewish, or, that's not a good thing, that's not a good thing to learn. But I got to leave you with a very, very powerful statement from Rabbi Hirsch, and rabbis were dealing with it for years, and I think it's a very, very powerful guideline, and there's a lot to talk about. But Rabbi Hirsch says like this: eventually, you're going to be in a situation, you're going to have a non-Jewish friend that you really have a good relationship with, whether it's work, whether it's a neighbor, and you're going to sit down and have lunch together one day. As a really good friend, and you really feel the brotherhood of man and everything, and tolerance and mutual respect. So what's going to happen? He says to you, listen, I got a deal on this really, really delicious wine. And listen, I cooked something for you. I did some research on the internet, and I made some pancakes for you, and I got this bottle of wine, and you're from my best friends. You show that all the stereotypes about Jews aren't true. I really feel true friendship with you. So I want to have a little drink with you, this wine, and and I cooked this special for you, and I really researched the internet, and I want to share it with you. So there you are. This person is your good friend. You really achieved a beautiful relationship with a non-Jewish person. You're a light into nation. It's a good thing for the Jewish people and for everybody. But there are rules about what a non-Jew can cook for you and what they can't. There are rules. And the wine, is a big issue. So what are you supposed to say that it won't blown up in your face? Because it's very clear from Rabbi Yonis and Eibeshit's writing in Germany that there were other answers Jews gave, and they blew it. And especially here you have a chance. You have a friend of the Jews. You blow this, right? You're starting to wonder, well, maybe I should make an exception. Maybe I should bend the law. So Rabbi Hirsch advises, and you can't be as eloquent as Rabbi Hirsch. And again, he lived in Germany in the later 1800s when actually there were periods the Jews were doing very, very well. He had high hopes for Germany. If you read what he wrote and then look at later history, you don't know what to do with yourself. Rabbi Hirsch says you have to tell the person, I like you, I value our friendship, there's nothing wrong with you, it's about me. You see, I'm Jewish, and I have a certain identity and mission that I have to do, and it very, very easily falls apart. So I have some rules. It's nothing personal about you. It's this family thing about the Jewish people that God wants us to act a certain way, and it's very hard to maintain. History has shown that it falls apart just like that. So I can spend time with you. We can have fun together. We could have a hamburger together. We could even have vodka together. He says, but we have a few technical rules that are supposed to remind us that you have a godly mission, I have a godly mission, but a little bit different. So Rabbi Hirsch says you have to stress so much that It's really about me. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's that I sort of have this sort of mission that I can't get distracted from, so I have these reminders. So I guess a person would have to practice how to give it over right. If you give it over wrong, you'll blow it. But Rabbi Hirsch says, but that has to be. Rabbi Hirsch says, and the Ben Ish Chai, who lived in Baghdad with Arabs, my God, I don't know how he dealt with that. Even he, there's a slightly similar sentiment that a person wants to send a message. Listen, if I don't want to have that wine with you, or I don't want to eat that pancake you made, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you're unclean. It's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that. It's just I have a few rules. I have a few reminders, that I got, remembered I got to stay on task. That's all it is, but don't feel bad. So, but if a person can master the spirit and the halacha around halachas like that, they may have a chance. And of course, this was the Hanukkah dilemma, and we know on Hanukkah, the Mityavnim, the Hellenists, they went all the way to assimilate with the Greeks, Syrian Greeks, Egyptian Greeks, whatever you want to call them, and we knew that they blew it, and it blew up in their face. Didn't work. And then of course the Maccabees had to figure out exactly what to do and where to fit in. And then the Maccabees may even have to pull a little bit over here because they were in so much danger. But the dilemma of Yor continues to go on. So in this holiday season, may God grant us the strength to make all the right decisions for us, our family and friends, and it should bring world peace.
Amen.
la 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 la